I don't know what to say about what I saw, but I'm gonna try the best as possible to pretty much accumulate how I feel about this. So I finally saw the Death Note Americanized live action take, live action teaser on the franchise that's coming to Netflix in August 25th, 2017. This is pretty much America's take on the Death Note history and what they're doing with these characters, what new scenarios they are bringing to light, etc. I'm a huge Death Note fan. I've been a fan of the franchise for a long time. I am one of those guys that always wanted to see Death Note, Another Note, the Los Angeles BB murder cases adapted to anime format. I would love to still see a movie of this because I feel as though it's a piece that a lot of people are really looking forward to in terms of content. And I think that's one of the logical steps that they should do for something adapted to Death Note because a lot of fans really are hyped about that and they want to see that still happen. Now, Death Note is no stranger to the live action format. There's been like 5 or 6 live action movies adapted, and so far, the live action films over in Japan for Death Note are going pretty swell for some people. I mean, I took a quick look on Metacritic. I haven't gauged the quality of these movies myself, but on Metacritic, at least some people are finding them decent. So that's a good thing. But when it comes to Americans taking over on projects, sometimes there are things that are lost in translation. There are things that they forget completely. There's source material that they change around and it's just stupid and it doesn't add anything to the story. And that's the problem that a lot of American media adoptions and remakes and adaptations really have is that they lose so much in translation that it's barely even recognizable to the original format to the point where things don't even make sense story wise. Like when you think about such grand scale projects like a live action version of Akira, how? How in the blue hell is Hollywood going to adopt a masterpiece of that magnitude where so many things is happening, so many layers of the story, so many special effects. You know what I mean? I don't think that Hollywood filmmaking and Americanized approaches to certain Japanese adaptations or lores would be in the best interest for keeping that franchise afloat. Just using that brand name simply to make a quick buck. And I know sometimes people do this stuff for the money. They aren't inspired to really, see what they can do new with an IP, with a franchise. A lot of people just want to push something out and they really want it to do well, but they don't have the right ambition in mind. They don't have the right intentions for that franchise. Now, I looked into the people that are helming this project, and the main director, which is Adam Wingard, he worked on things like the Blair Witch, the new remake that they had, VHS, VHS 2. I mean, he has some horror movies under his belt, of course, but is it enough to bring new life, new essence into the Death Note franchise? And the answer is sometimes no. Sometimes things are best left untouched. Sometimes people don't have that vision to take on the reins of a project too ambitious to fill the shoes of. For example, when people said that they were remaking The Matrix, I looked at that news and I was like, people are crazy because that movie was so revolutionary. And once you remake something, there's already a bar of expectations to fill. There's already a criteria of fans that's going to be looking at that and they're going to be saying, well, what does your product do that either is on par with the original or surpasses it? And I think a lot of directors really don't have that fan base in mind sometimes. They just want to do their own thing regardless of the intention, and they don't bring anything new to the table when the fans examine it. So I watched the trailer and I'll admit, it looks like it has some pretty good production values for the Death Note live action Americanized trailer. I will give it that, and I will give it the fact that we have William Dafoe, the original Green Goblin from Spider-Man 2002. We have him as the voice of Ryuk. And I think he does a pretty good job portraying this insanity within characters, this calm but disturbing voice. I think is their best positive so far. But I think everything else needs to be met with a whopping batch of skepticism. We don't know what's the story here, so we can't say it's good. We don't know what's going to be changed from the source material, so we can't say that's good. We don't know how the acting is going to be, so we can't say if that's decent or comparable to the original franchise. We don't know what other Shinigami might show up, so they might butcher that entirely and just have Ryuk floating around, you know? You never know what they're going to do with adaptations. I think the best adaptations are loose adaptations, which they borrow some source material, but not a lot, and they craft their own thing and make something new and unique. So, if this wasn't Death Note by name only, and if it was called something else, I would have more optimistic approaches to this new Americanized style Death Note. But there are issues. I really don't like what they're doing with L so far. L was very cunning, very smart, very intelligent. So apparently this new black actor, and I have no problems with roles being washed, but the actor has to embody the heart and soul of that character. If they don't do that, even for loose adaptations, then something is lost. And changing the role around so much dramatically makes no fucking sense if nothing is added to the character and they go ahead and make that decision. It's like, why? L was very important to Death Note. He was very important to the show. He was Light's rival. Completely. Up and down, across the board. He is what made the show so compelling back then. So, to see this random black guy just walk up into a facility with a mask on, you know, it's just so out of context as to what's going on. It's just so not L. That's where I'm getting at with this. It doesn't feel like the character, and I'm hoping that doesn't translate into the entire show, but there's some strong odds that it will if it keeps on going like this, to the point where you see these characters and it's like they don't mirror anything at all to the original at all. What was the point of changing this? What was the point of changing that? What is the point of making changes if they aren't good? If L just turns out to be a mere thief and criminal in this series with no rhyme or reasoning for doing it, then that's going to completely shatter everything we loved and enjoyed about the character. He's weird, he's smart, he's cunning. If the actor doesn't portray this properly, what was the point of even casting him? Why bother? Why change something that was already good? You know, I understand it's your own rendition. That's why I said it might be better if you called this something else if you're going to do that. I think if you remake something, if you take something and try to build it from the ground up and make something new and create a new foundation to add on to the franchise, then it should be exceedingly good or superior than the original imagining. I don't understand how this is so hard, in particular for American directors and developers in general, to not get the point, but for anime-inspired things, for video game movies, this always seems to happen. They always miss out on what made the original good. And you know, I mean, there's some other stuff as well. I think Misa was in the trailer. From what I see, I think she's a cheerleader now. I guess they didn't want to use model, so they decided to go with a cheerleader, which to me, again, it's an adaptation, so they're changing some stuff, but uh, I just have I just think it's gonna be changed for the worse. I really do. And I mean, it looks pretty. That's the best I can give it. And then I just see other sources telling me things, like my friends digging deep into this, and they're telling me that one of the glorious screenwriters who did Fan Four Stick in 2015 apparently is pinning the project for this new Death Note. That's right. A writer who did Fan Four Stick is pinning this project. Guess what? Fan Four Stick was terrible. That's the type of talent you're hiring for a franchise like this. And you know, people might see it as I'm whining, I'm bitching, I'm crying, etc. But you have to understand that as a fan of a property, an intellectual property, something that is good, sometimes you're going to be skeptical if something is radically changed or done for the sake of doing it, but they don't add any layers to their adaptation at all. So if this turns out to be some sort of edgy, grim-dark version of Death Note, which was unneeded, then that's how I'm going to feel about it. You know what? I'll take an example. You know, I feel the same way about the new Power Rangers movie. When they showed that trailer and everyone had these social issues, depression, anxiety, all this stuff. And then I thought to myself, this is a bummer. This doesn't feel like Power Rangers. Where's the energetic, vibrant teenagers that discover this, you know, entire layer of, you know, this force they need to fight, and there's an entire, you know, division behind it, and they get compelled to defend what's rightfully their home, which is Earth. And you're gonna tell me that this grimdark substitute is actually good writing, is actually good situations to be thrusted into. Now granted, I have no problem with a dark situation and storylines, but sometimes these things are just unneeded, and Americans, they do it the most. They do it with things that doesn't even really need that writing, because the source material is a lot more diverse and different than that. Case in point, Man of Steel adapting the whole grimdark, you know, Batman-like scenario where everything seems hopeless. And I know that's like a tried and true staple of writing stories, but sometimes, like I said, it's unneeded. So I have a feeling that they're going to shove in a lot of useless plots into this new Netflix Death Note thing. And it's going to be probably some unnecessary changes, some refinements here or there. And I'm probably not going to like it after seeing the original. And I just have a feeling that a lot of people feel the same way. As a fan, you have to understand sometimes you don't want what you loved touched at all. I would rather for them to do something without the name in it than to put the name in it and create this bar of like hype and then they don't exceed it. Because that just creates disappointment as to what could have been good. I will try to, you know, give this a watch and see what I think about it, because, you know, I am interested to see what happens with this, but I don't have the highest expectations. My expectations are set, and it's an American version of Death Note, which leaves me room to be disappointed, because there's not many American remakes that I could think of off the top of my head that has been great without some sort of fuckery or butchering of the characters, franchise, plot elements, etc. That's how I feel about it. Go watch it if you want to. Like I said, I'll leave a video of that trailer, and you can gauge your opinions and thoughts about what you thought about the Death Note American trailer. I will see you guys next time, and maybe when we get around to August, I'll do a full review on what I thought about this, and maybe I'll go back and do some old Death Note reviews, review the old seasons of the anime, give my thoughts, and put up some videos. That always makes for good content, doing stuff that I really enjoy, but I really want to get it off my chest and talk about it if it's positive or negative. So I'll see you guys later. This is Renegade Operative signing off. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, take care.